Okay, it says we're live. I don't know if we have anybody watching yet. I'm gonna see if I can pop over. I forgot how to do that. There was a way to pop over so I could see it on YouTube. Whoops, not that. There we go. Okay, we're up on YouTube. Hello, we have 4 friends watching us so far, and I'm sure more people will trickle in over the next little while. So we have our pre-K and our K friends first that we're going to meet with.
Perfect.
So we'll give them like 1 more minute. I see some people popping in and putting in their names in the little field there. The cool thing about using YouTube is that it'll be there and anybody who missed it live can watch it later. So
yeah, it's funny. I mean, teachers always ask me all the time, like, is it okay if I record it? They're always worried. A lot of other authors are really strange with stuff like that, but not me. Like, the more people that see this, the better. I actually encourage people to record it because people miss it. There are students that want to watch it 2 and 3 times. So it's awesome. If it's out there, that's a good thing.
Okay, good. I didn't even think to ask you that, so I'm glad you feel that way. I wouldn't have necessarily left it up forever, but at least for a couple of days, so in case anybody missed it, they can.
No, leave it up forever. It's
okay.
Fine with me.
We will. All right. Well, I think I'm going to introduce you, and then people will probably pop in as we're getting going. But for all of our pre-K and kindergarten friends who are at home watching, this is Daniel Jude Miller. We read a couple of his stories for my kindergarten friends, and I'm so excited that he's here to talk to you guys about being an author and being an illustrator and telling you all about writing stories. So we're going to turn it over to you, Mr. Miller.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It is a beautiful day. We're not that far away from each other, actually. I'm only about, what would I say, about 40 minutes down the road in Binghamton, New York. It was raining like crazy last night, but today it looks like a beautiful day and we're going to have tons of fun. Okay, my name is Daniel Jude Miller, and I'm a person who makes books. And you read some of my stories, and we're actually going to read them again, but I'm going to tell you some new things about them, some secrets, and I'm going to tell you where I got the ideas and why I created these stories. Okay, we're going to talk about all sorts of fun things. But before we talk about that, I always start every presentation with this. This is actually the most important book in my entire office. It's called Pete and the Acorns, and it is very important, even though I had nothing to do with it. Okay, this book was given to me by a student at an author visit a long time ago. His name was Milan, and Milan told me that he wrote this story all by himself. It's about a chipmunk that goes on an adventure to find the king. He then did all the drawings by himself, and then he went on a website that you might have heard of before called Amazon, and he had his parents make up 1 box of his story. He gave a copy to all the friends in his class, and he gave one to me. Now, here's why I start every presentation with a book that I didn't make. Because when Milan created this, he was in the 1st grade. Okay, it's a true story. Milan wrote this story all by himself. He did all the pictures, and he had a very real book when he was only in the 1st grade. And that's important to remember because it means that if I can create books and Milan can create books, then that means all of you can create books right now. You don't have to wait until you're old like I am. You don't even have to wait until you're finished with school. I meet students all across America that are making books today. And some of you might have already started. And if you did, that's awesome. But if you didn't, then hopefully when I show you how I create books, then hopefully that will give you the tools to start making your own. So let's begin. Hold on. All righty, so let's begin with all the people that work at my company. We have this guy. He's called the author, and it's his job to write all of our stories. We also have this gentleman. He's called the illustrator, and he's responsible for doing all the drawings for my books. We then have this one. He's the designer. And that's just a fancy word for the people that take the pictures and the words and put them together to make a story. Now, I know what you're thinking. All of these people look like the same person. Well, you would be correct, because they are all me. I have to do every job that is necessary to make a book from the beginning to the end. But that's not true about most of the books in your library. Most of those, one person wrote the story, a second person did the drawings, a third person put it together, a fourth person made the cover, and they all had to work together as a team. And that's fine. Maybe that's how you would like to make a book. Maybe you like to write stories, but you don't really like to draw. Well, you can find someone who does, and the two of you can work together and make that story. Maybe you like to draw, but you don't think you have a good idea for a book. Well, you can find someone with a really good idea, and the two of you can work together. But I want you to know that it's also possible to do it all by yourself, and that's what I do. But I didn't always do that. Okay, it started a long time ago for me, way before I ever made books. Way back in kindergarten, I found the thing that I loved the most, and that thing was drawing. I've been drawing for a very long time. I'm going to show you things that I was drawing when I was younger, and I'm going to show you that I can prove how long I've been drawing, because my mom took photos of me making my first pieces of art, and I want to share them with you now. Okay, I think this first photo is me from, I think, around the second grade. Oops, sorry. No, we're going to do these instead, actually. Okay, we're going to do the drawings that I did when I was down in the first and the second and kindergarten. Okay, I used to like to draw things like helicopters and airplanes. I used to like to draw dragons and dinosaurs. I used to love to imagine stories in my mind, things about knights and skeletons and how they would fight each other in outer space. And I was practicing all the time. So if any of you like to draw, there's only one thing I can tell you to make you a better artist. This is the only secret you will need to know. And that is that the more that you practice, the better you will get. If you practice drawing a little, you're going to get a little better. But if you practice drawing a lot, you're going to get a lot better. I promise you, there are no secrets or tricks. That is the only way that I was getting better and better at drawing, is by practicing all the time. So I would draw things like sports cartoons. And soon I was making my own characters. This is a ninja dinosaur. Ninja dinosaurs need people to fight. So I created a whole bunch of enemies for him to do battle with. And then I went to a special art school, and they showed me how to really do really good drawings. So now I'm going to show you how I do all the pictures from all the books that I make. Okay, they all start out like this. These are called sketches, and they're little drawings that I do with a regular black marker, nothing special or expensive. Okay, this is a blob from my monsters book, and I do these little drawings to try to figure out what each character should look like, or in this case, maybe how many eyeballs he should have. And when I like my character, I put him into the computer. All right, I don't do any of my coloring with paint or brushes or markers. I put him into the computer, and inside there, I start by coloring in the background, and then I color in the characters. And when the characters are finished, I add special effects, which for the monsters book, it's the ghost green fog that comes when a monster arrives. But it's always the same. Even if it's a different book, I make all my art the same way. Here's a page from my book, Everybody Wake Up. I do my drawings with my regular black marker, and then I put it into the computer, and inside there, I color in the background, and then when I like the background, I have to do all those characters, and then when those are finished, I add the special effects, which for Sunny is it's the light that comes out when she yells. So that's how I do all the pictures from all the stories that I've created. But I wasn't always the writer. Okay, a long time ago, I was only the person that made the pictures. But then I met someone. I met someone who had written a story, but she didn't know how to draw. She had written a story called Dr. B. It was about a veterinarian. Those are the doctors that take care of animals. She had written this whole story, but she didn't know how to draw, so she asked me if I would do the pictures for her book. And I said yes. So here is the kitten in her story that got all tangled up in the yarn. And there was a dog with a hurt leg. Dr. B fixed the dog's leg and gave him a bone, and he was happy. So someone else wrote this story, and I did the pictures. There was another book I did for another person. They had written a story about a dinosaur that jumps out of a TV screen and runs all over a family's house. Somebody else wrote this story, and I did the pictures. And then the last book I did for another person was about a team of superhero moms. One of them was really strong, and one could fly, and one could run very, very fast. So somebody else wrote that story, and then I did the pictures. But then something interesting happened. I got an idea for my own book, and I'll tell you where I got it because it's a great place for all of you to find interesting stories. I got the idea for this story from my own son. So if you look around at your parents or your grandparents or your friends or your teachers or even your pets, you might find that one of them would make an interesting character for a story. And that's what happened to me because my son is very special. He's special because he was born on the same day and in the same hospital as his best friend. So they shared the same birthday. But that is where their similarities end because my son loves Halloween more than anyone in the world. I truly believe that. His room is decorated right now. He has spiders on the ceiling and ghosts on the wall. He even has a little graveyard that he built in there, and he never takes it down. But his best friend with the same birthday doesn't like Halloween at all. He loves Christmas, and he keeps a Christmas tree decorated in his room 12 months out of the year. So I want to read this story. I know that you might have read it before, but I'm going to read it with you now. And I want you to remember now that when I read it, that everything that happens in this book actually happened to those two real boys. Every single page is 100% true. And then when we get to the end, I'm going to tell you the secret that's hiding in the story because I like to hide secrets in all my books. So here we go with Halloween Boy and the Christmas Kid. It all began on an autumn afternoon at a hilltop hospital in one tiny tucked away town. Right before breakfast, then just shy of sunset, two beautiful baby boys were born. They made the perfect pair that now forever shared the same birthday. After 6 years of separation, they met again when they were mixed into a crowded kindergarten class. They sat uncomfortable and unaware of their unbreakable birthday bond. Cupcakes and clapping reminded them of their calendar connection, and right then and right there, they became the fastest of friends. But sometimes things that might seem similar are really not nearly the same. You see, it's believed back at birth that one boy had been touched by the haunted hand of Halloween, while the other kid felt the festive finger of Christmas. So from that moment forward, if it was frightening, lightning, or the least bit fear-heightening, Halloween Boy loved it. And that's what my son's room really looks like right now. It's a very spooky place. While over on the other side, the Christmas Kid kept a constant craving for only elves, eggnog, and everything evergreen. Either nighttime or daytime, dream time or playtime, it was always a great time for a bone-rattling bash or a bell-jingling ball. Both boys liked to dress up and boasted cluttered closets filled with all sorts of crazy costumes. But their collections clashed because the outfits they owned were completely opposite. Not even the seasons could keep them from celebrating. Halloween Boy stayed spooky all through spring and summer, while the Christmas Kid would decorate days far from December. Actually, they were immensely mismatched in almost any way that mattered. They dined differently, designed differently, and definitely shined differently. They were clearly not copies, and certainly not clones, and yet that never presented a problem for these permanent pals. Once for a week, the Christmas kid chose to change from cheery to eerie, but the results were rather scary. There was also a time when Halloween Boy tried to jumpstart the joy and jolt his jolly, but the effort ended horribly. Still, despite their daunting differences, this duo always balanced out as best buddies. In the fall, the leaves fell, and soon pumpkins were parked on every patio and porch. And after so many months of patience, a breathless boy could horribly howl, "Happy Halloween!" because it was finally the Halloween Boy's favorite day of the year. Come November, they remembered their everlasting link and lit candles, cut cake, and looked forward to another incredible year together. When winter rolled in, it brought wrapping, red ribbons, and restless reindeer, as well as the opportunity for an otherwise quiet kid to announce with mirth and magic, "Merry Christmas!" because now it was the Christmas kid's favorite date on the calendar. But let's go back to barely 3 days before when this holiday came close to a halt. It was an innocent attempt and an impossible plan, and it almost ended a friendship. So remember that I said that everything that happens in this story really happened. Every single year, my son builds a Santa trap. Once he put a net underneath our fireplace. It didn't work. The next year, he put glue traps, those little ones you use to try to catch mice. He put a whole bunch of them. It also didn't work. And then the next year, he made a mistake because he went into class and he told his friend about his latest trap, and the Christmas kid got very upset. He said, "You can't do that because if you catch Santa, then how will the rest of us get our gifts?" And they started fighting. They started fighting for the first time. They were arguing over which was better, Halloween or Christmas. And they were getting louder and louder. As the Halloween Boy said, Halloween is much better because it has vampires and candy corn and werewolves. The Christmas kid said, "No way. Christmas rules because it has trees and snowmen and stockings." And they got so loud that eventually the teacher had to separate them. And she said, "Boys, you should not be fighting like this because you are best friends." So she came up with a plan. The next day when they came to class, they were not allowed to talk about Halloween or Christmas for one day. Instead, they had to share with their friends their other interests. So my son came home and told me this. And when he went in the next morning, he shared with everyone that he also loved wrestling and video games. And the Christmas kid shared with everyone that he also loved hockey and art. And it turned out that they didn't match again. So the Christmas kid looked at his friend and he said, "If me and you are so different, should we even stay best friends?" And they had to think about that. Should two people that are very different, should they be best friends? And the answer that they came up with was totally, truly, positively, yes, they should. Because even though they have nothing in common, they do share a birthday, and the one thing that they agree on is that they enjoy each other's company. And to prove that they are real boys, in the back of this book, there is a picture of the two of them from a long time ago. My son is the spooky, scary one, and his best friend every single year dresses as Santa Claus for Halloween. He doesn't like Halloween, but he likes free candy, so every year he dresses as Santa Claus. So it is a very true story. Now let's get to the secret. Because this book is about Halloween and it's about Christmas, but there are so many good holidays that I didn't want to leave out of the book. So if you see this story again, it will be your job to find the little characters that snuck into my story. If you look really close on this page, over at the side where the Christmas kid is wrapping his present, over by the red box, you'll see that there is a leprechaun hiding, a leprechaun for St. Patrick's Day. So the next time you see this story, it will be your job to find the Easter Bunny, the turkey for Thanksgiving, the mom and the dad for Mother's and Father's Day. There's even a groundhog for Groundhog's Day. There are 10 hidden characters that you can look for. Okay, so that's tons of fun. We're going to move on to this story. This story is about Sunny, a little girl. Now, here's something interesting. Sunny is also a real little girl, okay? She is very, very real. And it is another place where you can get good ideas from, because I got this idea from something that I saw, okay? One day I was at my friend's house, and she had a tiny, brand new baby sleeping in the crib. She also had a little girl. And while me and her mom were talking, the little girl snuck across the room, climbed onto the crib, and for no reason at all, just yelled, "Everybody wake up!" right in the baby's face. And the baby woke up crying, and the mom was so mad. And I thought it was funny. So that's where I got the idea for this book. But unlike Halloween Boy, where everything is true in that story, the only part of this book that's true is the first part, the part with the baby. The rest of the story I had to make up. Okay, so we're going to read this quick, and then at the end, I'll tell you the secret that's hiding in this story, because it's different than Halloween Boy. Everybody wake up. Also, feel free in your homes to yell, "Everybody wake up." That's the best part of the story. Okay, I can't hear you anyway, so feel free to yell as loud as you'd like. The sun arrived very early and sent its warm rays out in every possible direction. Some of those rays went through the window of a cute little girl resting snug in her bed. When the light gently brushed against her cheek, she knew that it was time to rise and shine. It was time to wake up. Sunny greeted the new day with a great big stretch and an even bigger smile. It was time to get started, and today was going to be amazing. She slipped on her favorite dress, combed her golden curls, and grabbed her book bag. Now she was ready for another beautiful morning. On the way to the kitchen, Sunny passed her little sister's room. The tiny baby was curled up under her blanket, surrounded by toys and sleeping peacefully. Babies sleep way too much, she thought. They miss out on all the best parts of the day. Sunny grabbed hold of the crib, took a deep breath, and shouted, "Everybody wake up!" And the baby was no longer sleeping. Sunny skipped down the hall and discovered her mommy and daddy still in bed. They looked comfortable, but were snoring too loudly to hear the birds outside. Uh-oh, she worried. Their alarm clock must have broken. They're going to be late for work. Sunny leaned close to her father, took a deep breath, and exclaimed, "Everybody wake up!" And now her parents could be on time for their jobs. As Sunny continued on, she realized that the triplets were still missing. When she searched their room, she found all three under the covers, ignoring the daylight. "This isn't good," she declared. "The school bus could be here any minute, and they wouldn't want to miss it." Sunny tiptoed inside, took a deep breath, and hollered, "Everybody wake up!" And the socks flew all over the room. One even landed in her brother's mouth. Gross. Sunny hopped down the stairs, but stopped short when she found all the family pets unaware that the sun had risen. The dog and the fish were in dreamland, and the cats were both snoozing. "It's almost 8 o'clock, she gasped. "It's time to run and chase and jump." Sunny shut her eyes tight, took a deep breath, and yelled, "Everybody wake up!" And the fish popped right out of the fish tank. Before heading out to school, Sunny spent some time exploring in the garden. Right there, under a big rock, were all sorts of bugs that failed to hear the rooster crow. "What a shame," she whispered. "There are so many pretty flowers to smell. Why should butterflies have all the fun?" Sunny bent close to the ground, took a deep breath, and screeched, "Everybody wake up!" And the bugs went bounce, 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 bouncing across the morning lawn. At school, Sunny noticed a kindergarten class where the children were supposed to be alert. Surprisingly, their books were shut, their pencils were still, and their heads were down. "This is silly," she chuckled. "How can you learn anything with your eyes closed?" Sunny crept up to the door, took a deep breath, and announced, "Everybody wake up!" and the pencils and the papers flew all over the classroom. After school, Sunny and her mom stopped to visit Grandpa and his friends. Everyone was gathered in the activities room, but there was no activity. What time is it? Sunny teased. It's playtime. She marched to the center of the room, took a deep breath, and howled, "Everybody wake up!" And poor Grandma's wig jumped right off her head. So sad. Sunny's mom stopped to check on her brother, who worked at the movie theater. While they were chatting, Sunny took a peek at what was playing and wasn't happy with what she saw. "Oh my," she fretted, "the film is almost over and everyone is about to miss the ending." Sunny nibbled her candy, took a deep breath, and bellowed, "Everybody wake up!" And the popcorn and the nachos and the soda spilled all over the theater floor. What a mess. Sometimes it was nice to take a shortcut through the zoo. Most of the bats there were active and excited, but most of the animals there were active and excited, but the bats weren't enjoying the day at all. How sad, Sunny sighed. Weather as splendid as this should never, ever be wasted. She pressed her nose against the glass, took a deep breath, and cried, "Everybody wake up!" And the bats were no longer nocturnal. 2 blocks from home, Sunny spotted a very quiet construction site. The equipment wasn't moving because the men were taking siestas right in the middle of their shifts. "Is this normal?" Sunny questioned. "Nothing will ever get built this way." She picked up a megaphone, took a deep breath, and shrieked, "Everybody wake up!" And now the building could be completed. Later that evening, Sunny ate dinner, took a bath, and brushed her teeth. She was exhausted from a long day and needed to rest for tomorrow. She climbed into bed, pulled the sheets up to her chin, and settled in for a good night's sleep. She had just drifted off when the door creaked open. There were deep breaths, and "Everybody wake up!" Everyone had figured out where Sunny lived. The construction workers, the people from the movie theater, the bats, the baby, and even the bugs from the garden. And they showed her what it feels like to be woken up like that. Sunny just leaves people alone when they're sleeping now. The end. Okay, it's time for secrets. And the secret in this book is very different than the first one. Because if you think back to how many babies there were in this story, there was one. And there were 2 parents, and there were 3 brothers, and you see what's happening. This book is secretly a counting book, and it counts all the way up to the number 10. So what you need to find the next time you see this story are all the hidden numbers. Okay, and I'll show you one right there in the middle of the page. All the way at the top, you'll see that there is a number 9, because there are 9 bats on this page. So the next time you read this story, I want you to look for all of the numbers, but you need to remember that they're only on the pages where people are sleeping, not when they're being woken up, only when they're sleeping. And I'll tell you, they're not all this easy. Sometimes they're real small, and sometimes they're hidden, and they're hard to find. But that will give you something to look for the next time you read this story. Now, hopefully, you're remembering that I told you where I get some of my ideas from. I got them from the people that are around me. I got them from things that I've seen. And I showed you how I do the drawings. I do all the little drawings. I'll actually come back to you so I can talk to you normal. Okay, I do all the little drawings with my regular black marker like this. I do all the pictures. And I have to do a bunch of little drawings first before I can do it. And then I add all the color. Okay, so that's how I make a story. And I always write the story first before I do any of the pictures. So hopefully now that you see how I make books, hopefully starting today, you can go and you have a whole long summer and you can make tons and tons of books. And if you do, go on my website and send me pictures that you've drawn and send me stories that you've created, because I would love to see them. Okay, now I don't know if we have a couple minutes, I can answer questions if you have a couple there.
I do. I have a few questions from our kindergarten friends. One of the questions was, out of all of your books you've written, which one is your favorite? That's a hard question, I'm sure.
No, it's an easy question, okay? And it's easy because of this. I don't have a favorite story because I like them all for different reasons. I like Monsters in Manhattan because it was my first. I like Everybody Wake Up because it's my funniest. I like Halloween Boy because it's about my real son. But the book that I'm most excited about is usually the one I'm working on right now. And right now I'm actually working on like 3 at the same time, but one of them is about a Christmas tree. That's the one I'm usually the most excited about, whatever is not finished.
That's a great answer. One of our other kindergarten friends wanted to ask you, why do you write books? Like, what made you decide that you want to do this for your job?
Okay, so this is an important question because I started drawing when I was in kindergarten, but I didn't plan on becoming a writer. Okay, I never wanted to be a writer, and I only wrote my first story when I was 25 years old. Okay, I want you all to remember that. That is too long to wait to start writing stories. I want all of you to start writing right now. I wish I would have started much sooner, but the truth is that I didn't have great teachers like all of you do. Back when I was younger, they didn't teach writing as much, and your teachers help you write, and they weren't helping me. So I only got my first idea when I was an adult, and I wish I would have started much, much sooner. So please start writing stories right now.
That's so true. We definitely love to write in our building. We write a lot of stories. I'm looking at my questions. I think there's just one more. It was about who helps you make your books. And I know the kiddo was wondering, after you're done writing, what do you do with it? How does it turn into the actual book?
Okay, so I wish somebody would help me make books, but unfortunately, like I showed you in those pictures in the beginning, I have to do it all myself. My wife is a wedding photographer, but she is very busy taking pictures at weddings, and my son has a YouTube channel, and he's busy doing his Halloween YouTube things. So I have to do all the job myself, which is fine, because I love writing, and I love drawing, and I love doing it, but I have to do it all by myself. What was the second part you said about?
Just, I think somebody was wondering, like, when you're done writing it and you're done, like, how does it go from your finished product to turn it into a book?
Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you get your idea. Okay, and we talked a little bit about the ideas. The second thing is I always write the story first. Okay, I have to finish the whole story before I do any drawings. Next, I do all of the drawings. Once that's all done, okay, and I want all of you to focus on those parts, getting a good idea, writing a good story, and doing the drawings. If you do all of those, I promise you that your teachers or your parents will help you take it to the factories that will make a book like my friend here, Milan, does, okay? I don't want you to really worry too much, but what happens is, for me, just so you know, is I send all the pictures and the words to a factory, and then inside the factory, they have big machines, and they make all the pages, and they stitch it all together, and then they send me a lot of boxes with a lot of books, okay? But I don't want you to worry about that part. I want you guys to come up with good ideas and good stories and good drawings, and then someone will help you get it to become a real book like Milan.
Awesome. That's a great answer. Well, Mr. Miller, I think we're just about out of time. Our pre-K and K friends are going to have to scoot out. I think they might have some other things to do this afternoon. So
very good.
So we will say goodbye. Goodbye, pre-K. Goodbye, kindergarten. Thank you for joining us today. And Mr. Miller, I will see you shortly on a different link, right?
Perfect. You guys have a great summer, okay? Enjoy it. You all deserve it.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.